Are you looking for a fun and informative podcast all about training working dogs? Look no further than the LWDG Pod Dog. This weekly show is hosted by me, Joanne Perrott, founder of the Ladies Working Dog Group, and I chat to experienced trainers and experts in the field who will give you helpful tips and advice. Whether you're just getting started or you've been working dogs for years, this podcast will have something for you. So pull up a chair, pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to LWDG Pod Dog and let us help you build a better bond with your best friend. Hello and welcome to another episode of LWDG Pod Dog. This week we're here with something completely different and we're talking to Georgie Armstrong, founder of Detection Dog Trials. Now I'm super excited to bring this to you. It's something that started in the UK and now has moved abroad into the USA. We're talking to Georgie today out in America. How are you, Georgie?
I'm good, thank you. Little bit tired, but fine.
So where in America are you right now?
So I am in Ocala, Florida.
Fantastic. And
Horse
tell us
country.
all about being there. Why are you there?
So I started Detection Dog Trials in the UK in 2019, and then we carried on in 2022 after COVID. And whilst in America in January last year, I did a podcast and we just ended up chatting about DDT on the podcast. And then off the back of that, I had a lot of messages from people in America that were like, we want to do this here. How do we do this here? So then, I was like, oh my God, okay, let's move it international. And we found out a way of keeping it simple enough so it can go to all different countries, but also stay equal to everyone, so everyone can compete internationally, enjoy the trials all over the place now.
So when people in the UK and probably in other countries where hear the word trial, it sounds like a really serious thing. You know, we all hope one day our gun dog will be a trialing dog secretly, but tell us about this. It's not that serious, is it?
No. So when I started teaching detection, there were a few scent work trials around. That basically it was quite, there was pressure. There was a bit of pressure around it. You know, it was a bit more serious. A lot of them came down to time. The main thing I found that my clients were having an issue with was they were undoing their training because they were rushing their dogs when they were doing trials, because they would win by being the fastest, obviously by finding the hides, finding the odors, but by being the fastest person doing that as well. So I had people coming to me to help with their indication. So that's when the dog finds odor. So that's the dog like sitting, staring at the odor, or just putting its nose on the odor and what we call freezing, a passive indication. And they were training that at home and getting really good, indications at home. And then they were going to a trial and like calling that dog had a find. And the dog would come off the indication and then they'd be like, yay, okay, we found, like, quick, let's go find the other one. And then the dog was getting really confused because it was undoing all the training that they were doing at home. They were also in, at the time, they were just in, sort of village halls or something like that. And with search and rescue, I'd done assessments and it was always in different places, I'd done it at a quarry or a builder's yard or something like that. And I was like, well, why can't the dogs do this too? The pet sport dogs as well. So I created DDT, and their trials are at all sorts of different venues. So we have them. So our championships were at Blenheim Palace this year. So that was really cool. And then we have them at we've got a air museum, like the RAF museum. So the dogs search around the planes, railway stations. We've had one football stadiums, and a cinema before. So they're like all different places, but they're anyone can do it. And I have quite a lot of people that do gun dog stuff that also do the trials as well.
So do you think, like, listening to you now and chatting before we came on the podcast, everything about what you're doing sounds just like super fun, super energetic, something you can focus on working with your dog on, but without feeling like, you know, you're going to be judged in a very serious way. Is this something anyone can do, even if their dog's not a detection dog yet?
Yeah, so that you can enter a trial as soon as your dog is on odour, what we call is on odour. So you'd search for an odour. So you start training the dogs to search for anything. Like a lot of people, sport people use clove, as in the spice clove, or gun oil, which a lot of people have in the group. So gun oil is one of them, and Kong as well, the red Kong. People search for that too. So you can literally start at, like, you know, the dog just searching for its toy, and then develop an indication from there. But the first level, prelim level, is very much, come and have a go. You know, all you have to do is be able to recognize that your dog has found it. Basically, it's one hide. The dog can what's called get to source, which means it could get their nose where the hide is. So it's not a difficult hide. It's not high. It's not out of reach. But you get feedback and you get marked in every aspect of it. So you could come and your dog not even find that day, and you'd still get marked, and you'd get feedback in how you handled the dog, how the dog worked, the area you covered. Like you get marked in a lot of different places. So the trials are set up to complement your training at home. So when your dog finds, for example, you call it and we'll tell you it's correct, or not, but usually it is. We'll tell you it's correct, and then you can then mark your dog on the indication that you want from it. So you've got the time then to wait until it gives you the behavior that you want, that you would ask for at home, and mark that behavior, rather than feeling like you've got time pressure and rushing it. You know, and then trying to fix it when you got home. So, and it is suitable for all levels. So like when you start out and you've got a puppy or a novice dog that's never done it, and it's just on odor, you know, you're just starting to recognize when the dog finds, then get them out to prelim trials. And they, you know, it's really good for environmental training, because obviously there are all sorts of different environments. And you get given a time slot, so you don't have to be there all day. So if you've got a pup, you know, you can go, run, go home. You don't have to sit around all day with the dog in the car if it's not used to that.
We've previously done a podcast on the similarities between gun dogs and detection dogs. And if we translate some of the words you're using, like the dog being on odour, same for us as a dog finding a dummy, that's what it's doing. It's looking for the odour first to find the dummy. The similarities are immense, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. There's so many, and like I said in the previous podcast, I do both with my dogs, and it's since I started in scent work and detection, and since I've been getting into gun dog work as well, it's really helped. Like it's overlapped and helped massively, with both ways round as well, in building independence in like the hunt drive of the dogs for beating. And then also just building in that little bit of control with the detection side of it. So it complements both. There's a lot of dogs that do detection and the trials that do gun dog work as well. And they do like, you know, there's a cocker that does the trials, and he's a field trial cocker. You know, she competes him in field trials, but he's still on odour and competes in the trials as well.
And that's lovely then to have, like, yet again, another sort of activity you can be doing with your dog. We talk about the multi-purpose dog, and this is definitely aligned to that. Do you think as well the fact that, like, you have like an international scoring system and you can be part of a bigger community is valuable to people?
Yeah, I think we're trying to keep it, it's really like a family, you know, because it's very similar to your group, you know, because it's to complement your training, and have fun with your dog, then it doesn't get that sort of harsh competition sort of pressure, and vibe around it. You know, people want to help each other. I've had trials where the dog has been a really nervous dog, and we've just ended up just saying, do you know what, just take your 5 minutes, play with the dog with the ball in the area, and just make sure she's comfortable, because she's not going to work today. You know, it was like too much of a venue for that dog, and so we just turned it into a training moment. And you know, the handler went away really positive, because the dog had just searched for its ball, you know, done a bit of work. But the international side of it's brilliant, because the score system is blanket the same, and it's simple, so it's easy to stay equal. Doesn't matter if they're in Australia or here, or the UK. I keep forgetting I'm not I'm not there. And we have an app, and so you have like your membership on the app, and then your results just go into your membership, and then they go on the league table. But it's just the dog's name and the league table, so it's not even like people can go, oh, she got so many points, and, you know, look at it like that. It's just, you know, all that would be online is like the top 10 dogs at the time, and you'd see them in the league table. And then at the end of the year, we have championships. So we have obviously the ones in the UK, and America will have their own as well. But then there'll be the international champion, like from that league table. And we have awards like the Expedition Award is for like the best newcomer dog. You know, a dog that's like might have come in and been really nervous and got really confident doing the trials. Or a team that's just, you know, come in at a really novice level and then just moved up and done really well. We have like nice little awards like that get given out at the end of the year.
Now, we've already chatted briefly about how we can bring this to the LWDG for gun dogs. That's definitely something I'm super excited about working on with you. But from your perspective, when you started this, did you expect, because like you've just had a little baby, did you expect this little idea to then turn into you going all over America?
No, definitely not. I started it because when I started teaching pet and sport dogs detection, I was like, at the time as a search and rescue dog handler, I was like, hang on, I get to go to all these cool places and train, and you guys are just doing it in a village hall. Like, you can come and have loads of fun with your dogs in all these cool environments. And like, it's evolved massively since then. So when I started doing that, I started it with my teaching first, and now you can go and do scent work in all sorts of venues with numerous trainers. Most scent work trainers now have different venues that they use. But yeah, I was like, I wanted it to be inclusive for everyone, not too much pressure. Like, you come in, so when you come into a trial, there's 2 judges, and we'll chat to you. You know, there's no like pressure. It's just like, how do you feel? You know, do you understand this bit? Do you want a time check? So the time, you have a time limit, but you don't have, it doesn't come into the like results at all. So yeah, I just wanted everyone to be able to have fun and enjoy themselves. But no, I definitely didn't expect to be in America this year doing it.
And I think the fact that, like, as I'm talking to you, my mind is going wild, okay? Because I'm thinking about it. Like you're saying there with different environments. We take our gun dogs to different environments, but do we ever think about, you know, putting the dummy in different places? Do we ever think, well, I'll go to this safe urban setting and put a dummy somewhere different? And I don't know how many of us do, because that would take us out of what we normally wanted to do with the dog. But I think our dogs would love it just the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really nice. I find that the dogs can really let go with it, because they are just searching for their odor. So from gun dog trials, from what I've seen, which is limited, I think that for the detection dog trials, there's a little bit less input from the handler, like a little bit less control. They're definitely not judged on obedience as in a sit, for example. There is a section called obedience to search, but all that is when the dog is cued to work, it searches, so it doesn't like go off and sniff something else, or, you know, just disappear from the search area and not come back. So it's very much like the dogs really enjoy it. Like they relax. They are so excited when they're like, they're going to search. And, a good handler, you can say, I don't say anything pretty much to my dogs. I, make sure they're sat, chilled, ready to go at the start, send them to work. And other than maybe directing them into like a little alcove that they might have missed, I don't say anything until I mark their find, and they just get on with their job and use their nose. And it's just heaven to just watch. I get really distracted and forget I'm judging after watching the dogs.
So what types of dogs do this? Because obviously we're used to being around working dogs and getting dogs. When you say detection dogs, is it the same kind of dogs?
So in operational detection, yes. In the trials, no. We have all sorts. So our dogs, so our top 6 dogs, for example, or top 5 dogs, whoever I remember, the dog that won novice champs this year was a poodle. The dog that won intermediate was a collie. And then we had a German short-haired pointer, a Sheltie, a Mali. I had the year before a French bulldog that did amazingly. She was reserve champion, I think. All sorts of breeds, like every single breed. I think we've had all sorts come and do it. The group that I'm out with now are the Boucherons, like the Boucheron Society, and so they're all like all sorts of different dogs. So they're competing. Yeah.
Do you find a big difference in the way we train generally between America and the UK, or are we all starting to think on the same lines?
Yeah, no, it's really similar. So although I'm out here teaching, so this seminar that I'm doing now is teaching hosts and judges. So I'm teaching them to run and judge the trials. But yesterday we definitely got into some training as well. It was too difficult to not train them. And no, it's exactly the same. I think because definitely the way I train, it's, the dogs need to be working for their reward. They need to want to do it. And have the handlers have a positive mindset, and that's definitely what I'm getting out here, the same as in the UK. People just want to have fun with their dogs.
Yeah, and there is that sort of, I suppose, expectation when you're at a formal level in the UK, that your dog is kennel club registered, that you're already at this set level before you even attempt to go in. You've got to have a really good level of obedience, a good level of control of your dog. And once you need in some of those things with you, you're just saying, look, this is a little bit more fun, so you can come and learn as you go with us.
Yeah, and we're really accommodating. So we have a dog, people reactive dog that came. So, we just made sure. So when she entered a trial, we just made sure that the venue was suitable. And then we just judged from a distance. He's actually awesome now. He works because detection helps the dogs. I mean, he works around loads of people. He did champs at Blenheim where there was tons of people around and he didn't bat an eyelid. But when he first started, we had to give him space. And that was fine. And then we've had super nervy dogs where, so we often have a photographer so people can get cool pictures of their dogs searching cool places. But, we've had it where we just go in with one judge and one dog, and the person's bought the dog before to meet that judge so that they get used to it if they're nervy. As long as the dog, you can work your dog on a long line. So if you've got a young dog and you don't trust them in that environment. So say we're doing a trial on a farm, which is normal, like a farm or a builder's yard. And you think, do you know what? My recall is definitely not proofed enough yet that I don't trust him to not disappear. You can run them on a line. So you can just work him, have a 10-meter line trailing if you want to, or have hold of it. So the dogs can still come and enjoy themselves and do things. You don't have to be restricted because you're working on something else in your training at the time. They don't need to have all of those things in place yet.
And that's really nice because it means that, I know for a lot of people right at the beginning, because there's not a lot you can do, it's quite isolating in itself. You can go to group training, you may be able to do some little things, but not to the level of access you're suggesting. This is saying to people like, look, even though where you've got some issues, we can work with those issues and you can still be part of the fun.
Yeah. I mean, you can come to a trial. If you've got a dog reactive dog, for example, you could come to a trial and not go near any other dogs, because you get given a time slot. So you could come, we'd know your dog was reactive, so we'd make sure people were, I mean, to be fair, there are so many that people are really aware of it at the trials, and they all give each other space anyway. But we could be completely aware of it, and you could come, your dog not see any other dogs, work the dog, and then go home, and that you've had a really successful day with that dog, and it's in a controlled environment where you know that you're not going to come across someone else's dog off lead running up to it 100 miles an hour. But you can still, you've still come and competed, and you're judged exactly the same. There's nothing that would affect that dog, that would affect its result, just because it's dog reactive, for example.
I think what's lovely about this as well, we talk about the similarities between gun dogs and detection dogs, and this is something where you can say to your dog, you've got something that you can do and go and find for me, which the dogs absolutely love. But like you said, in these completely different settings, but also, like you said, one is complementing the other. So over time, your dog's confidence is going to build on both, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. So I have people with gun dogs and also with agility dogs, and they both do detection, and I've never had a negative comment come back. It's always like, it's really helped my dog's confidence, because they're quite independent when they're doing the detection, or they can be if you let them. And they get a real confidence in themselves, because they find it pretty much on their own. You're with them, but they do it on their own. Whereas, in agility and sometimes in gun dog work, we direct them a lot more. We control them a lot more. We put them in the right areas to find. Whereas they just search this environment and they find, and they're like, I did that myself. And you can see them when they come back so proud. Like Dylan's, I mentioned her on the last podcast, like my partner Dylan's, his lab, he said to me, he went down with a ball with our other lab who has not got lots of drive, and he'll search for his ball for a bit and then he'd prefer a cuddle. He'd left his ball down on the field, and it's a Kong ball, and I've been training her to search for the Kong. And he said to me this morning, he took her down for a wee, and he immediately noticed she'd gone on odor, like she'd hit odor when she was down on the field. And she did a really nice little search and found the Kong ball that he'd left behind. And he was like, the way she wiggled over to me, like so proud of what she'd done. Like she's such a happy dog, like since she's been doing the search stuff. And that's because she can do it by herself. She doesn't feel any pressure because she just does it. She knows she can do it on her own.
And like what you just said then about like the lab's little wiggle and things, I know for a lot of people, they come into the sport wanting to end up on an estate. Many don't, but some of them do. And sometimes the dog and and the handler, they're just not at the level to go out on an estate and work in that way. But this is something that they can do, and you get just as much enjoyment from watching the dog hunt in a competitive environment as they would get on an estate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do workshops through Canine Brain Training, I do workshops, but we also have some theme trials where we're searching in a woodland or like on an estate, so it's an emerald trial, it's like they go and they search in the fields or in the woodland, and they're just searching for their odor. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more accessible. For example, if your dog makes a noise, it doesn't matter. That's a big thing. I've got a lot of dogs that will be barking a bit before they start their search for whatever reason, they're just excited. That doesn't matter. They absolutely don't get marked down if they bark. It's not a problem.
We are definitely going to be running something along the same lines as you with your guidance and support, which I massively appreciate. In the interim, if people are like, I want to turn my dog into a detection dog, we're going tomorrow, where do they go? Where do they find you? Where do they find all this stuff?
So my teaching is obviously Canine Brain Training. This stuff, to find out more about it, it's Detection Dog Trials. So detectiondogtrials.com, Detection Dog Trials on Facebook. That's where you'll find it. If you message through any of those platforms, it comes to me. If you message through Canine Brain Training, it comes to me. So either is fine. But yeah, to see what's going on with the trials and stuff, it's Detection Dog Trials, and yeah, you'll get in contact with me regardless. So either.
We're super excited to join a masterclass with you on the canine brain training stuff, and we'll definitely do a podcast on that at a later date, which in that stuff's incredibly fascinating in itself. And whilst we're talking to you, I'm thinking we definitely need a masterclass on knowing the dog is on odor, because again, I don't think that's something we definitely do in Gun Dog training. We might not explain it that way, it's really interesting to see how some words mean the same things, but they're different words, which is fascinating. For anyone who wants to see what's like going on with the leaderboard, stuff like that, do they need to be a member first, or can they just like go on a Facebook group? Is this somewhere where they can just watch if they're not confident yet to get involved?
If you just want to see what's going on, then just follow Detection Dog Trials on Facebook. So the leaderboard stuff will be up. It's not live yet anyway, because this is the first US seminar, so they haven't started running their trials yet. So that'll be over the next couple of months. But whenever we do a trial, there's always like a write-up on the trial, and the winners are always announced on the Facebook page. So the Facebook page is definitely the best place to find out more about DDT and just see people's comments, what they've got to say. We will have a group, like a community, but at the moment I've just left it as the Facebook page because it's all evolving and everyone's learning, but that's going to end up coming pretty quick, I can tell out here.
Well, I've got to take my hat off to you as somebody running like a community and membership. I know how hard it is, and I do commend you for being like doing it in the UK, giving birth, doing all the things you're doing, flying out to America, because it's not just now you're out there, like you said, in April, you're out there again in October. So really, really massively investing your time into this. And I'm sure people will absolutely love you for it. Thank you so much for calling in, having this call with us. I know we're going to be doing loads more with you. For anyone who's interested, please go see Georgie's stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. And keep an eye out for finding out more information as we work with Georgie to put something similar into the LWDG for your working dogs. That's all for this evening. Thank you, Georgie. What time is it out there now?
It is 7 o'clock in the morning.
7 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, bless you. So early up. And you've got a full day of like working with the group in America now?
Yeah, teaching handlers today. Yeah, got a group of handlers that we're teaching, from 9.
Well, absolutely give them our love, and we shall speak to you soon. And for those listening, make sure to tag us, send us your comments, and we shall see you all next week. Thank you for listening to LWDG Pod Dog with me, Jo Parrott. Now, we all know training a dog takes time, energy and patience, but our lives can be really, really busy. Don't worry, the LWDG has got you covered. Join us for our free planning workshop where we'll show you how to use short 10-minute training sessions each day to fast forward your dog's education. Our experts have years of experience in training dogs and will help you get started on the right foot. Register now and start making progress with your furry friend today. Go to our Facebook page, the Ladies Working Dog Group, and click on the pinned post, or visit www.thelwdg.com.